Reboot sequels will continue until morale improves would be a great opener to this review.
But I regret to inform the naysayers that morale is quite high and RadioSilence's continuation of the Scream franchise is still going strong. In fact, it's even better than Scream 2022. But there is one slight pitfall that keeps the 6th entry from achieving that elusive 10. But while it is the Sidney Prescott of it all, it's not what you think. Part of what made Scream 2022 so successful was that it took the old, the new, and built a perfect foundation for a story that could continue without its original final girl, a task many horror franchises have tried and mostly failed. Scream 6 capitalizes on that, focusing on the return of Gale Weathers and fan favorite Kirby Reed as the legacies and letting the new cast do its thing. The problem isn't the absence of Sidney, though. It's that said absence is explained in a throwaway line that's about as well delivered as it was written. Sid's absence does play into the overall theme of the film, though. Scream has always been about subverting horror tropes and playing in a space that both mocks and reveres its genre in equal measure. That continues in Scream 6, but this time it's not about tackling horror as a whole. This time it's full meta, and the butt of the joke is Scream itself. You'll see plenty of shoutouts to your horror favorites, both old and new, sprinkled throughout the movie, and none of the self-exploration feels over the top or like it's making a mockery of Wes Craven's legacy. Instead, it's simply having a laugh at the tropes that the franchise itself has helped create in its own right after nearly 30 years and 6 entries of Scream. Mindy delivers her now customary monologue to give you a few hints on those rules and tropes. It's a little redundant, mirroring Scream more than any other moment in the new film, but it's effective all the same. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of that monologue, but one thing that the young Meeks Martin highlights is that the gore must be amplified in a reboot sequel. And boy is it ever.
Let's finish this.
The hits, or stabs, just keep on coming, and no one is safe. The core 4 take more of a beating than the original 3 ever did, and there's never any real way of knowing who will manage to limp their way to the closing credits. The heart and soul of Scream 6 is that aforementioned core 4, which is made up of the Meeks Martin twins and the Carpenter sisters. This chapter very intentionally ditches the standard Scream trope of splitting up its protagonists between films just to have them come together again at the end of the first act. Instead, it focuses on a story that keeps the survivors connected the whole time. This doesn't just lead you to caring more about the main characters, but the people that they love as well. In fact, Scream 6 delivers with its secondary characters more than any franchise entry before it. And while some of the praise belongs to the closeness that the writers give us to the core 4, a not insignificant amount of credit needs to go to the rest of the actors as well. We've always loved Sid, Dewey, and Gale, but gone are the Mickeys and Dereks of Scream 2. It would be a joy to see any number of these players show their faces again in Scream 7, even if some of them are, well, you know. While the character-driven story of Scream 6 is the primary reason for its success, it is far from the only one. Some of the set pieces in this chapter will absolutely take your breath away. Whether it's the immaculate representation of an unbearably claustrophobic subway car, or the jarring illustration of a person's obsession in the stab trophy room. The cinematography doesn't disappoint either. There are several scenes in the third act that marry the beautiful and the macabre in very exciting ways. And this is especially true of that trophy room, the gift that just keeps on giving.
What is this place? A shrine.
Emotions and brutality are at an all-time high in Scream 6, setting it up to be the best sequel in the franchise yet. Though it does ultimately fumble the reason for Sidney Prescott's absence, RadioSilence has officially proven that there is a future for the franchise with or without its original final girl by giving us strong connections to the new Core 4. For more on Scream, check out our interviews with RadioSilence from IGN FanFest. And for everything else, stick with IGN.